Welcome to the DFL Breakdown, presented by GrizLeeGear, with your hosts, Lucas Ford and Ricky Epperson.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the DFL Breakdown, the #1 cartoon side character themed, league-specific, weekly fantasy football podcast in the world. We're back.
That's right.
And it's time for some fantasy football action. We had a doozy of a week, a crazy weekend for everybody involved, some really close matchups all the way across the board, and I'm excited to talk about most of them. What about you, Ricky? How you doing this week?
You know, it was very close. A lot of things got decided by very few points. I'm excited to get into it. But yeah, I mean, it was a wild week of fantasy football, and there's some people who got away with murder, and there's some people who were this close to getting what they needed. So it's an interesting season for sure.
Yeah, and it continues to get more and more interesting as we go. It's Thursday. We got a crazy game tonight coming up between the Broncos and the Saints. We're going to see Spencer Rattler again after he had a cool night the other night here. So that's going to be exciting. But we'll get into all those matchups. Let's get into the game breaker first here, and we can start talking about last week.
I'm coming! Here I come! Game Breaker.
All right, this week we had Baker Mayfield putting up big numbers for the up-downs. They're staying up, and Baker Mayfield was a big part of it for him. 33.9 points in that matchup against New Orleans, who we were just talking about. It was a pretty good offensive night from both sides, but the Bucks just continuing to put up great numbers week in, week out, and Baker Mayfield's been a huge part of that. So it's been a good acquisition for Dylan ever since he managed to get him from you. So that's been working out for him, and his team had a great week for it. He needed all those points from him. So congrats to Dylan for putting out the game breaker this week.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield has been doing it. He's been doing it since last season. No one wants to believe, or few people want to believe, but those of us who do, he's just got that dog in him. He wants to win. He's got that competitive drive. He seems competent enough, and he's got the weapons around him. It's a recipe for success. Really not much to say about it besides, quality back pickup, Dylan. Like, good on you. He's on your team. You're winning.
Yeah, been incredibly consistent, and a big part of his win this week. Like we said, let's get into the score summary, and we can talk about the rest of Dylan's matchup here and his win this week.
Score Summary.
Right, so let's see here. We had the up-downs versus Bill Cosby's sleepers. It was a 142.5 point victory for the up-downs versus 112.68 points for Artie. Like we said, Baker Mayfield, a huge part of the win. It wasn't really all thanks to Tyjae Spears, who only put up 2.7, but not only did Dylan manage to have our game breaker this week, but
Waiver Warrior.
He's our waiver warrior. He picked up Tyrone Tracy last week. We talked about him having more of an opportunity, possibly with Devin Singletary being out, and it was a big part of his win as well here, getting 22.7 points out of him.
Yeah, big week for Tyrone Tracy. He looked great out there. Did very well with his opportunity. There was I think 2 rookie backs this week that did really well with a full role this week. Tyrone Tracy got the start, and he absolutely lit it up for the downs. Big part of this victory here. Him and Baker Mayfield were, two very positive things. The third positive thing we got here going for Dylan is Garrett Wilson finally having a big week. 8 of 10 for 107 yards and a touchdown. That's his best scoreline all season. 25 points from Garrett. It's a big one.
Yeah, and if you have Garrett Wilson, you come out of that game, you're like, well, they lost, but Garrett Wilson getting a ton of volume, feels like he's getting locked in, things are lining up with Aaron Rodgers, and then they trade for Davante Adams this week, so you're questioning everything after that. You're like, is that volume actually secure? He was getting so many targets before this week, and who knows what's going to happen with that, with Davante coming to town, and the word is he is going to play this week, so his hamstrings must just magically be better, right?
Yeah, you see everyone sending the Willy Wonka gif where he's like walking with the cane and then he does the somersault. He's like, "I'm here." That's how he walked into the Jets facilities. Yeah, I mean it's a reconnection, and chemistry between quarterback and wide receiver is very important. It feels like Wilson's chemistry with Rodgers hasn't been the best, for sure. Rocky at best, I guess is what I would call it. So if he's got his favorite target there, it does kind of shroud Wilson in mystery. Like, does he just not get fed the ball as often, or is there just going to be the coverage is spread and Aaron Rodgers is going to take what the defense gives to him and Garrett Wilson's going to benefit in that way? I tend to lean towards Aaron Rodgers is going to try to play to beat the defense and not just serve up balls to his guy. I'm sure he will, but I don't think it's going to be all Davante all the time. Davante isn't, that 25, 26-year-old wide receiver stud anymore. He's just a nice, solid, trusted veteran who does well when given the ball, but isn't like a world beater.
I agree with you, but at the same time, we did gush a little bit about his little toe tap play even this season on the Raiders, where like he's still got it. Like if they got it, like it's gonna be scary for teams to play against. And then if Garrett Wilson's also there, still deserving targets, they could just become a really scary offense there. So. But this week, at least Garrett Wilson was great for Dylan, so that's huge for him there. He got a nice performance out of Dalton Kincaid Monday night to get him over the median, so that was a big part of it. And yeah, Tampa Bay's defense getting him 19 points with a couple interceptions, a TD of their own, with some fumbles and 5 sacks in that same game that we've been talking about, that Bucs New Orleans game. So just huge points for him all around there.
Yeah, I mean the Bucs showed up and on defense, on offense, and the downs are the Bucs a little bit right now. I think he needs some more Bucs players in his life. They seem to do well for him. On the other side, it's not great for Artie. He had a big down week here. Geno Smith came in and underproduced. Chuba Hubbard, who's actually I think he's in the top 5 rushing leader right now, or he was going into this week. He kind of dried up here against Atlanta. Javonte Williams, that story has been a roller coaster all year, but this is the down part. He's got to go back up the hill again. But the big return for A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs, wide receiver core getting it done. Mark Andrews doesn't suck. He catches a touchdown. He looked pumped when he caught that touchdown in the end zone. I don't know if you saw that, Luke, but he was like, yeah, I finally did it again.
Here we go. I'm back.
So maybe that ignites something in him going forward. It's a feeling I'm sure he wants to capture again and again. But even with that solid core of 3 players, just wasn't enough to overcome the other mediocrity. Jake Moody started and was out. How did I not see this?
Yeah, he never
was that Thursday
him.
Game?
It was, yeah. It was that Thursday night game. He never noticed and didn't pull him. That's your one job as a commissioner. So I'm sorry, buddy. We said no more help with that sort of stuff. So you were stuck with Jake Moody there, and I did want to note the Geno Smith in that same game. This was about as bad of a start as you could get for Artie. Like a quarter into that game, or even at halftime, Geno had negative points. I think he barely got some stuff together with a touchdown at the end of the game and stuff. But he had locked in his kicker, which was confirmed not playing, and he had Geno Smith putting up like negative yardage at halftime. I looked and I was just in shock and horror for Artie's team, and it was a hole he couldn't climb out of. He just never got there, and even though it was a great week from the up downs, he wasn't even close to the median either. So just couldn't get it done with that sort of performance.
Right.
Let's.
That's right.
Oh, thanks, Doug. All right, let's move on to the Stroud boys versus the women in the kitchen here. This was a great matchup with our return back-to-back point leader on the week, if I'm not mistaken. Chris not crushing records this week, but still having a great week and putting up a ton of points here. 172.1 to the 139.58 for the Stroud boys. These were both median wins for these guys, so not going home completely empty-handed for Eric, but did take the loss against the point leader of the week here. It was Joe Burrow and Josh Jacobs putting up middling performances, not anything awe-inspiring there, but Joe Mixon in his return, getting 2 touchdowns, 100 yards on the ground and 30 yards in the air, right back to elite usage, and didn't struggle at all versus the New England defense. He really just got it done. Well, I want to say the first half of that game, the New England defense did look pretty stout and was kind of shutting them down, but eventually they wore down, and Joe Mixon was a big part of that. Drake London was great for him, 6 receptions for 74 yards and a touchdown. T. Higgins did almost exactly as expected, so that's great for him, 7 receptions for 77 yards. That's a little bit of a jackpot, right? You get the triple sevens there.
That's lucky on your wedding weekend.
Yeah, you got the win again. He's got the lucky numbers here. He's just doing it all. George Kittle getting 2 touchdowns for him. Scary Terry getting 2 touchdowns for him. He's just determined to prove me wrong on my initial takes. And good for Chris. He's getting it done. Like I said, if there was like you said, if there was a good week for him to do it, it might as well be his wedding weekend here. So yeah,
I mean, he wasn't going to top last week or anything, but this is a very solid performance. It's great to look at. Aiden Hutchinson getting hurt like that's going to take some wind out of his sails.
How ironic
going forward
that his nickname was Kneecaps Unsafe, and it turns out it was his own kneecaps that were unsafe. I know it was like his shin or something. I'm reaching a little bit here. But yeah, it was kind of gross, man.
It was gruesome. I don't like that stuff. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I mean, on the other side of it here, great week for Eric. Honestly, he got kind of put into a real tough spot Monday night when James Cook was called out. He didn't have a backup plan. I looked at it. I'm like, I hadn't heard anything about James Cook all week. Was this kind of a surprise? But no, all week he'd been like tracking his limited participation in practices.
The news reports said he was gonna play. They said he was expected to play. And then game time, they were like, "Yeah, psych, he's not gonna play." And so, I don't really fault him for not having him out of the lineup there, but
it certainly isn't like a Jake Moody start or anything. But
no,
Monday night games with a questionable guy, you kind of have to do a little bit of homework or prep work for that. At least put him down in your flex spot,
True.
Something along those lines. But hey, he still managed to hit the median with the Monday night Breece Hall performance. C.J. Stroud did well against New England. Mike Evans, not a big part of that 51-point game. That definitely could have turned things around for him.
I think didn't he get injured or something? I think he left that game early or something. Am I mistaken?
Did he fight Marshawn Lattimore?
Did he fight Marshawn Lattimore?
I didn't see anything. I feel like it's just underwhelming.
I
don't know.
Yeah,
probably just got locked down all game. And then Amari Cooper has brighter days ahead of him, I think.
As he becomes a Buffalo Bill. Yeah, he wasn't part of this 23-20 win in New York on Monday night.
That's funny.
He was in the middle of losing on Sunday to the Eagles while he was still on the Browns, but got traded And now I think it's going to be another boost for Eric there, who's already having a pretty decent season so far. Could really help cement his playoff run here. But this loss definitely isn't helping those aspirations, even though he got, Paulson Adebo, 23 points here, 16 points of the Pittsburgh defense, 12 out of his kicker, 17 out of Jameson Williams. It was a really great week. Yeah.
Yeah, you had James Cook in there, and he's really, really pushing it. I mean, you have to do excellent to beat 172. But, I mean, there's definitely a world here where he does that. I mean, Mike Evans just needed to get a little bit more involved in that game, and he gets James Cook playing, and he's in there. Put Ray Davis in there, and then give a touchdown to Mike Evans, and all of a sudden, they're pretty close. So, great to see Eric succeeding like that. Shout out to you, Eric. But, like I said, brighter days for Amari Cooper. Strengthening the squad. It's a good spot to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. So Eric moves on to 7-5 with that, and Chris moving up to 6-6 here. Wasn't quite able to do the same little swap that we were talking about last week with the records. He was kind of evening it up a couple weeks in a row. But Eric managed to squeak out that median win and avoided his clutches there. But yeah, Chris moving to 6-6 here, definitely on his way up after a rocky start here. I accidentally clicked some scores. Let me go back here, and we're in week 6. Let's talk about a different kind of matchup here, one that wasn't so high scoring. In fact, one could possibly call it
Wet Noodle Fight of the Week.
This was kind of a stinker here from Nate and Mike. I'm Ron Burgundy versus Hergert the Pervert. Didn't quite go according to plan for either side. Jordan Love was a great start for him with 4 touchdowns, 33.6 points, almost as good as our game breaker Baker Mayfield, but not quite. And that was pretty much one of the few bright spots on Nate's team. He got Chris Boswell kicking him 24.4 points, and that's pretty much what did it for him here with the one Devonta Smith touchdown, because everything else was bad. Devontae Wicks just no longer can catch the ball. Turd Ferguson put up a turd with only 4.1 points. Even Jamar Chase was relatively muted in his performance against the Giants. They won, but it was mostly on the back of Joe Burrow busting off it was like a 60-yard run or something from Joe Shiesty. That was hilarious to watch. Just a completely busted play. But yeah, it wasn't really Jamar Chase putting in the touchdowns in that game, so not good news for Nate. He got over the finish line, but like we were saying, didn't really hit the median, and it's definitely something to leave you thinking here. He had a couple guys on bye that have really been producing for him, and Devin Singletary also missed, which was kind of his backup plan. So, I can see that he ended up having to go with backup plans. But even then, James Conner was the one that let him down. It wasn't even Rico Dowdle here.
James Conner, fumbled and lost the ball, and then they benched him, which to me is kind of insane. Like, he's a stalwart running back. He has great ball security most of the time. He doesn't have a fumble issue. Like, he loses the ball once, and you're just like, that's it. This is like high school ball. Get on the bench. Take a seat. We're gonna put in Trey Benson and Amari DiMarcado, who also didn't do great. Like, what? What are you guys doing?
I think maybe they're just weighing their options because they realize that adding Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't just solve all their problems, and they're probably going to be trying to shed some payroll and get some other things going this offseason.
I thought Marv was supposed to be Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe they're trying to ship him off somewhere. I don't know who could use James Conner. Dallas.
That's true. That would be
James Conner would go crazy in Dallas.
I think a lot of running backs would go crazy in Dallas right now, but instead they're just suffering and saving Zeke according to Jerry Jones or something.
Yeah, Jerry Jones.
And yeah, that's that. They're making some questionable decisions, but at least it didn't come back to bite Nate too much. Like we said, got the win there. Not so favorable of a matchup for Mike. I think he might have been our lowest score of the week, if not second lowest.
He was.
He was the lowest, yeah. And Travis Etienne was a big part of that. Negative 0.1 points. Got injured on the play that he just put up negative 0.1 and then left the game. So that's super sad to see early Sunday morning. Your main running back one just gets injured and leaves with negative pointage. So Kenneth Walker did the opposite for him. Was great. He's even though the Seahawks lost that game, it was nice to see for him Thursday to at least put those 20 points on the board. But yeah, that didn't save him here. Zay Flowers got 22 and Tony Pollard got 17.8. But Greg Zuerlein, missed 2 field goals. Either one of them would have put the Jets at least in overtime position, if not just outright giving them the game. But Greg,
I think they would have won Mike
down.
the Week. I think they definitely could have bumped him up to win Mike the Week here. At least get him close.
Yep.
They were bad misses too. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely missing Justin Jefferson here.
Sam Darnold too.
Sam Darnold, Xavier Worthy, which I don't know if he might have done just the same as Rome Odunze, but definitely Justin Jefferson would have helped him out here. He also has not put Kyle Pitts in on either of the weeks where he does well, and by doing well, I mean he got 10 points, which is green for him, so it's got to be well, I guess. In today's tight end economy, 10 points is good. So, I mean, a couple Zuerlein kicks and a Kyle Pitts, and you're pushing Nate for sure. But yeah, it's a wet noodle fight for you. Everything seems a little
wet noodle fight of the week.
Hitting it again.
A little less than, That's what it all comes down to. They're all less than.
Yeah.
But hey, it's nice to see Kenny Walker out there putting up performances week in and week out, being a stud.
Couple shiny spots in here, but still mostly a turd. And that's what you get out of your wet noodle fight here. So let's move on from that one here. Let's talk about your matchup here, the Toaster Baths versus now Perfect Cell. They were the Decepticons, but some things have changed since then. And you picked up your first losses of the year, not one, but 2 of them. You missed the median by only a few points, and the Toaster Baths coming up out of nowhere and scoring 144, putting them over you and the median and picking up 2 wins this week. 144.2 to 134.3. Josh Allen did great things for him Monday night, everything he wanted and more. Got 27.4 points for him there. David Montgomery has still been great for him, 2 touchdowns and 80 yards. He did the little Disney celebration. That was hilarious. Bucky Irving in an increased role when Rachaad White was out was great, even though he didn't end up doing the best out of all the backfield options for the Bucs. It was Sean Tucker getting a ton of work in that game, but Bucky Irving still got a touchdown, 81 yards on the ground, and a couple of receptions for 24 yards. So a great week out of him. CeeDee Lamb, 16.1 points. I guess that's red. He was projected higher against the Detroit Lions, but they got smoked in that game. So and he only caught half his targets. He had 14 targets, 7 receptions for 89 yards.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, straight to the pits, man. They're going to hell after a performance like that. It's bad. They look like trash, and the Lions were just dunking on them and just trying their hardest to get an offensive lineman to score, just calling trick plays, doing whatever they wanted, having their way with them, and it's crazy.
My premium Lion pieces didn't get the right slice of the pie. They were trying to get O-lineman the ball. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a touchdown, and he was like, I'm just going to shuffle it back to the O-lineman, and it ended up getting called back because there's like an illegal shift or something like that. But like, he was still like, I'm not going to score a touchdown. You score a touchdown, Penei Sewell. And it's like, okay, guys, that's really cool, but like, I could use a median win this week, you know?
But my fantasy team.
Yeah, like, I guess I hadn't really thought about the fact that I lost. I took 2 L's this week and then renamed myself Perfect Cell. I did that because I feel like I've gathered all of the pieces and I'm now in a state where I have all the right players. But I am not perfect on the season anymore. Feels bad, but I did call it last week. I knew that Lehman wasn't going to lure me into a wet noodle fight. This was going to be, a good week for the toaster bath. I believed in his matchups for his players. Hey, call it how I see it. I ended up losing, and that's, losing with 134 feels bad, but okay. It's better than losing with like 90 and being like, oh shit, is my team just fraudulent? It's not fraudulent. I just, Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown just, didn't get any of that 47 points. And then there's also Marvin Harrison down there in the flex spot with a 0 who got concussed early on. And I mean, I didn't even need a big week out of him. I just needed like 11 points, and I would have been all right. I don't know. Maybe if he puts up 12, we get to see Lehman in a poop hat, so he doesn't lose a whole week. Lehman, wear the poop hat, you fucker.
Yeah, for real, man. Wear the poop hat. Like, come on. Wear
the
it.
Poop hat.
Wear it.
Wear the poop hat. But I mean, yeah, I just got middling performances from. I got floor from a lot of people here.
Yeah,
I think 25 is Derrick Henry's floor. I think 2 touchdowns is Derrick Henry's floor.
132 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a floor. That's.
I mean, he has 2 touchdowns on like, I think it's just 2 games this year, but he scored a touchdown in every game. I mean, the dude's he's in the end zone because that's what he does. But I don't know. It's just no one bailed me out of the Marvin Harrison thing, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. That's how you go from undefeated to 10-2.
And go to 10-2. You did. Lehman moves on to 5-7 here. Just another couple noteworthy things. Cole Kmet had 2 touchdowns in that London game. Looked great. The Bears defense was also great in that game. You still got good performances out of Brock Bowers and Deontay Johnson. But yeah, just barely not enough to get you over the line there. And yeah, a couple tough losses for you here. But
I was watching that London game. I'm folding laundry. I'm watching the game. I'm like, damn, whoever has Cole Kmet is just lighting it up right now. I'd suck to be against him. And then the Bears force a fumble and like punch the ball out. I'm like, oh, imagine if that person was also playing the Chicago Bears defense. Man, that would be bad. And I opened the app. I'm like, oh shit, Lehman's got Kmet and the Bears defense. No.
Yeah.
I laughed it off. I wasn't too worried about it at the time because I was like, damn, Cole Kmet deserves every point he gets. The guy's a stud.
Yeah, 37 points combined for those two for him in that morning London game. Definitely a good way to start your Sunday.
Yeah, woke me right up. I was like, no. I guess it's game on.
Well, we talked about yours. We're not done with all the matchups, but it's only fair that we go right into my terrible, heartbreaking, destroying, just awful matchup, and maybe I can go through it quickly here. It's the Ball Hogs versus the Dogs. 136.72 to 137.4. Corey was the 6th place scorer on this one this week, and both Alex and I scored within 0.04 points of each other for 7th and 8th place. So this is an 0-2 week for me here. The 136 performance wasn't quite enough. Saquon let me down a little here. A really terrible game out of the Eagles. They did end up winning against arguably the worst team in football, and it was very close, so that's concerning. Tank Bigsby, a massive week last week. This week, 24 yards on the ground, no receptions, and he fumbled a punt, so lost a point on that. In a game where you lose by less than a point, that's always fun to think about. Brian Thomas, 3 receptions for 27 yards. Keon Coleman, 3 receptions for 26 yards. Both incredibly disappointing as well. I was watching both those games like, man, where the hell's my guy? He was just, they're just not out there. Trey McBride was great. 8 receptions for 96 yards. Love that. Brian Branch, 2 interceptions, 2 passes defended, forced fumble. He went nuts, 31.2 points. I was really excited about having picked him up and put him in. The Chargers defense was great too, but
I was looking at Branch with the interceptions and the pass defended. I'm like, do you just get pass defended points if you intercept the ball? Or is it just like, hey, he took it right out of the receiver's hands, that's a pass defended? I think that's where they come from. Like if something gets tipped on the line and you just like catch it in the middle of the field, I don't think that counts. But yeah, he had two snags right out of a receiver's clutches, so huge output for him.
yeah, I think that you're right. Most of your I feel like your linebacker interceptions most of the time you're not getting like a big pass defended on that because it's like some sort of tip pass or some swatted ball or something like that. But yeah, when your DBs are getting interceptions, you know they're right at the end of the route, competing with the wide receiver and breaking up that play. So that's cool to see. And yeah, Brian Branch did it big, man. When he was doing that, I thought for sure I was locking it up. All I needed left out of Keon Coleman was like 6 points. So I was like, oh, surely he'll get it Monday night, and he didn't. And everyone caught up to me on the median there as well. So couldn't quite get it done.
The bad beat
against the Dogs. He got a kind of crap performance out of Kirk Cousins, but a big game out of DeAndre Swift, and Najee Harris showing up huge for him. Broke off a big touchdown run. Rashid Shaheed got 10 points because he got a kickoff return touchdown. Nothing he did on offense, but
it's just a solid 6 points. He gets no yardage or anything. Yep. It's just like +6.
Yep.
He looked good doing it too.
The 1 reception for 11 yards and the 1 carry for 2 yards would deceive you into believing he didn't deserve 10 points, but he got that kickoff return. So
he put 6 on the board, man.
He did indeed. George Pickens, only 8.3 points for him there, but Noah Fant did great for him Thursday night, 13.3 points, 6 receptions for 63 yards, and just did it quietly. Like I said, they lost that game. It wasn't really an awe-inspiring performance, but Noah Fant just out there getting a lot of passes. Jaden Reed got a nice long touchdown, and he got, it was like his stat line's a little screwed up here, but yeah, he had one nice, I think it was like a longer touchdown, but just a bunch of short work here. 6 receptions for 28 yards. And then, yeah, great performances out of Patrick Queen, Green Bay's defense, and Younghoe Koo. Like we said,
he just did enough.
Every single one of these points, and he got them. Great job, Corey. You did it.
Fucked up. I'll say it. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. The median couldn't save you. It's so fucked up. Hey.
Yeah.
I won't say anything about that, dude. Don't watch last pod. Don't listen to what I told Luke about Caleb. Just yep. Nothing more. What's next, Luke? What are we looking at?
Yeah. All right. Let's move on from that one. And I think we talked about all of the matchups, but one more bad beat. This one was just as close. I alluded to it in the breakdown of my matchup, and it's Alex versus Riley here. The Land Manatees versus the AZ 69ers. 138.4 for Riley to 136.76. For Alex, he, like I said, finished right next to me under the median, so this was also an 0-2 week for the 69ers, scoring 136 points. Yeah, and he didn't need a whole lot from his guys here to get over the hump, but there was a couple of them that just really dragged him down. Chris Olave, scrambled egg brains, losing a fumble with his consciousness at the same time on the field after his one reception for 5 yards. So that gave him negative zero point 0.5 points, combined with quote-unquote shitty player Calvin Ridley, who only got one 9-yard carry with 0 receptions on 8 targets, got 0.9 points there. Those two players combined scored 0.4 points.
8 targets and he caught nothing. I hadn't looked at that stat
Nothing.
line. That's so fucked.
He sucks.
Like I'm assuming that half of them aren't catchable, right? You could just assume that Will Levis threw 4 of them just in his general direction and whatever. But 0 for 4 is awful. You're Calvin Ridley. Catch the fucking ball. Catch the ball and do something.
They're paying him a lot of money to catch that football, and he is not catching it there, and that's not translating into success for Alex. Man, one catch out of any of those for 0 yards for anything would have gotten him at least a median win, if not just an actual win.
6 yards, and all of a sudden he's toppling the manatees, who are just... It's the most... Oh, Riley's gonna hate this. It's a fraudulent 2-0, just like Corey's. It's fucking fraudulent. Man. It should have been a 1-1. It's so fucked up. It's luck, is what it is. It's not fraudulent. It's luck. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Riley. I know you the slander on the pod. Listen, it's not fraudulent. It is really lucky though. You lucked out. Alex had your number this week, and then he just didn't call it, or Chris Olave didn't call it.
Put the phone down.
Yeah, Tucker Kraft didn't have anything to say either, and neither Calvin Ridley. They're like, "No, we love Zins, and we're not going to do anything about it." Oh,
yeah, rough stuff for Alex.
Your heart out, Riley.
I know that did psychological damage to him too. He was definitely very sad in the league group chat, talking about needing to sell his whole team and just to try something new at this point. So we'll see who stays and who goes and what's happening with that here. But yeah, it was a good. He did score almost 140 points. Did the land manatees here? Brock Purdy put up 30 for Purdy. That's cool. Deebo Samuel 20 points was part of that win for the 49ers on Thursday. Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler going together in that game versus the Ravens and scoring the exact same amount of points, 10.8 points for both of his commanders on his team. That's kind of funny. Brandon Aubrey is got to just be the MVP of his team at this point. The most consistent producer and probably one of the highest point totals. Just keeps kicking massive field goals. They only scored 9 points. They were all field goals. Brandon Aubrey's their whole offense. That's nuts.
Brandon Aubrey is the 8th overall player fantasy points wise on the season. Just above Chris Godwin, Jamar Chase, CJ Stroud, Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray. Oh, maybe Fairbairn's up there too. Maybe Eric's been Fairbairning his way quietly and no one said anything. Fairbairn's number 15.
Wow.
So,
still dealing with the ramifications of the year of the kicker. We
might need to Half-Life it again.
Yeah, well, we're just slowly weaning off the kicker. We have.
You can't cut it cold turkey.
Yeah, but
can't.
It has been a lot, and it's been a lot for Brandon Aubrey, and it's really helping push Riley over the edge in a lot of these matchups here. Like it did in this one. Good 2-0 win for Riley there, and a tough 0-2 for Alex. Moves Alex to 4-8, and it moves Riley to tied for first at 10-2. That is all of the matchups. I believe we touched on all of them here. And now we have just a couple things to take a look at before we move on to the down to the wire here. But for now, I always like to take a look at the point efficiency chart that they give us in the weekly breakdown here. Eric could have had a lot bigger week than he did. Could have been pretty close with Chris, even without just replacing James Cook with Ray Davis off the waiver or anything like that. Just the guys he had almost could have got there. But Chris played at 100% efficiency, and because of it, definitely scored the highest in the league this week. That's what happens when you just put your best guys out there. But Alex with the heartbreaker, even myself could have gotten up there. These all hurt, and even for you, like you said, we were kind of all right close to it and had a lot of potential to get there, so that stings.
Yeah, I mean, for Eric, Alex, and myself, I mean, we have zeros or -5 in some cases on the week, and so that always hurts. That's always going to be a difference maker, especially when the median is within. There's, I think it's 7 teams within 10 points of each other this week. An outplayer is a huge deal, and yeah, I mean, you got a couple receptions at your guys, but 3 points is just something that's easy to replace for enough to get over. Although I guess it probably wasn't your receivers; it was just Caleb Drake.
Yeah, I could have done that. Yeah.
Yep. But Manatees maxed out at 138. That's all they had to give.
Yeah, they also played at 100% efficiency, and hey, you know what? If that's I think that's earning a win as well. You field your best lineup. You get the best you can there. You did your job as a coach, so congrats on that. We got some standings to go over real quick here. You are still in first, but now tied with the Land Manatees, as I was mentioning, at 10-2 apiece. We have I'm Ron Burgundy at 9-3. The Stroud Boys and the Dogs both at 7-5. That's in 4th and 5th. In 6th place, we have the Women in the Kitchen tied with the 7th place Up Downs. They're both at 6-6. And then we have the Toaster Baths alone in 8th place, moving up the leaderboards with their 2 wins there. They moved, I think, the most dramatically this week out of anyone, up 3 spots. They're at 5-7. And the AZ 69ers are in 9th place at 4-8. Finally, close to the end here, we've got the Dimsdale Ball Hogs and Bill Cosby Sleepers in 10th and 11th, respectively. Both at 3-9 here. And then finally, not pictured, we have the Herbert the Perverts in 12th at 2-10, having a bad time at the bottom. You got to earn your spot in the picture of the standings here, and so far
right.
he's not doing it.
That's right. I feel like it's been different names most weeks, although I think last week it was the Herbert the Perverts, and he did not move. But I do like the fact that Lehman gets a hot +3 here for taking down an undefeated first place team. That feels deserved.
Apropos.
He definitely put up, but it's hard to look at some of those points for. I mean, you're looking at like 8th place, 7th place. They're at 600. They haven't broken 700 yet, and then you look down and you're like, oh, there's 789, 747 down there. What's going on?
Yep. And Chris in 6th place with 901 points, second most in the league. That's he's just barely scraping by, but he's putting up big numbers though. A lot of those have come in the last 2 weeks.
He had to trade away Tyreek Hill for Terry McLaurin in order to start putting up numbers like that.
In order for his team to start lighting it up.
Yeah. And hey, if it keeps working. Good for you, Chris. But we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well, that's the standings here. Let's get down to the wire, and we can talk about all of the moves of the week and see how everyone's team is shaking up here. Let's get there.
Down to the wire.
Okay, we have the waiver wire moves here. The big prize of the week was Demario Douglas showing off that connection with Drake May in that loss to the Texans. They scored 3 touchdowns, and Demario Douglas was a huge part of that. I put a claim in for him. Nate obviously ended up getting him, but I believe most people were putting in a claim if they were paying attention. Ricky's pointing a finger; he did as well. Do you have the ability to see who the other two were on that one by any chance?
I think it was Dylan and Lehman. I'll look it up. You keep going.
But yeah, it was that was definitely the hot grab of the waiver, and it goes to Nate there. So we'll see if he fires him up this week against the Jags. Riley picking up Isaac Guerrero. He's just going down the line of San Francisco 49er running backs, seemingly uncontested. He's just grabbing these guys and plugging them in. As soon as one goes down, he just grabs the other one and puts them right in there, and it seems to be continuing to work for him. So that's that.
You think we would have learned our lesson from George Mason and not let it happen? But
we'll see if it does happen with Isaac Guerrero. I have less faith in this one myself. He's a rookie this year. I don't know if he's going to just come out and light it up the same way, but we will see. We got Tyler Lockett going to Chris. He got 3 claims this week. What, did he have just another electric week or something? Is everyone back on the Lockett train?
He's just solid. He's just a good flex guy. He's just put up 10 points every week. I mean, that's just what he is. It's Chris, Dylan, and myself all putting in claims for him. Demario Douglas, I think he got 5 because we're a bunch of homers at heart. But that was Nate, yourself, Riley, Chris, and myself. I think Demario Douglas got put on a lot of claims this week across all leagues, but 5 claims makes sense in a predominantly New England owned management league. There's nothing made sense there, but you all get it. That's the comprehension Dylan's always preaching. I think the steal here is Njoku. That's Lehman picking him up. I think with Amari Cooper on his way out, David Njoku is going to kind of PPR scam his way into relevancy pretty quick. He's coming back off that injury. He got a decent amount of targets last week. Just a warm-up. Deshaun Watson's bad, but he's going to throw the ball to someone, and Njoku can catch the ball. He's big. He's fast. He's got good hands. So it's Lehman and I going in on the claims there. I lost everything because I was waiver claim 12, but we move on.
That's
already fixes Jake Moody problem.
Yeah, already fixes Jake Moody problem. That's the punishment for being active on the waiver. You end up with lower claims all pretty frequently, but you did manage to get Ray Davis, who did have that great game on Monday night. No one else wanted him, so you just got to claim him there. And now he's on your team. Dylan also picking up Ernest Johnson, one of the backup running backs for the Jags, and hoping that he gets all the work if Travis Etienne is missing more time there. And then finally we had Kimani Vidal going to Artie with the news that Gus Edwards is on IR. He might have some more opportunity coming up, so we'll see if that ends up panning out for Artie. That was it for waiver claims. Dylan made a flurry of other moves after that here. Let me see if I can't pull up some more of those moves. There was some free agency stuff here. Yeah, he
picked up Romeo Dobbs for Spencer Rattler.
Yeah,
he picked up Darius Slayton. He dropped Ellis, the linebacker, and what was that? Jordan Whittington, the wide receiver, in for the Rams. He just he hasn't materialized yet. And then he picked up Zaire Franklin in Indianapolis. So yeah, a flurry. I was awake for that. I couldn't move anyone because my roster's full, but I was like, oh, I'm awake at waiver o'clock. I made a claim in another league, and my brother texts me. He's like, Ricky, it's 3 a.m. I'm like, yeah, it's waiver o'clock.
It's waiver time, baby. Yeah, exactly.
Get up, get active. Alex slept in.
Yeah, for real. There's still some good defenses. Well, he just later on Wednesday night, it looks like 3:30 picked up the Bengals defense for his defense this week. So still streaming a defense there. He's still on it, but yeah, definitely waited a little bit. I managed to kind of sneak in on that there before he got his chance to pick through it. I picked up the New Orleans Saints for the Chargers. I had to take Anthony Richardson out of my IR slot, so I had to drop somebody to start moving people around. And I chose to drop Keon Coleman because fuck that guy. And we got Chris picking up Michael Wilson, dropping Deshaun Watson. He couldn't hang on to the rapist for too long there, but just had to have him on the team for, I guess, moral support. That's it for the free agency ads. We had a couple trades in between last episode and this one here. Let's start with, this is an old one. Yeah, we're trading all the time. Oh yeah, who could possibly know whose fault it is? But let's start with your big trade here with Dylan. Dylan wanted Marvin Harrison back. He also really wanted Jalen Waddle, so he was willing to give up Aaron Jones and Garrett Wilson. It looks like Aaron Jones could be really valuable moving forward if he gets that hip injury solved. And we just talked about the question marks around Garrett Wilson, so some people could think that this would help Garrett Wilson. A lot of people would say it could hurt him as well, so the impact is still unknown, but moving in on uncertainty can sometimes lead to unforeseen profit. So we'll see if that ends up working out for you.
You got to take some upside shots. I think Dylan here, he's buying low on Waddle and Harrison. Those two guys, return of Tua, Marvin Harrison could, he's still a rookie, right? Like, he could just progress and become better as the year goes on. There is upside to be had there. I know some people looked at the trade and they're like, it's unfavored. Dylan's buying low, and he might have paid a little too much for buying low. But he's selling Garrett Wilson off of his best week of the year, with uncertainty shrouding him and an injured Aaron Jones. So it's, there's risk on both sides. I felt like we were both kind of rolling the dice here. And I think that's what good trades are kind of all about. Two guys that are kind of like, all right, I'm going to take my chances with these guys. I'm done with my chances with these guys. So to me, I felt good. I felt like my team was balanced after that. I was two wide receiver heavy, and Dylan gets his two upside wide receivers. So, good trade, Dylan. Pleasure doing business.
Yeah, and seems like both of you are happy about it. So we'll see how much that ends up factoring into your future games here. I ended up moving Brian Branch, who just put up that 31 point week that we were talking about, for Jerry Jeudy, who just became the wide receiver 1 in Cleveland. As to how valuable that will be, I don't know, but I had Ginkelberg on my bench and he was coming back in, so I wanted to see if anyone else wanted a nice hot IDP player that's been scoring a lot of points, and Lehman was down for that. So got that trade done here. And then finally,
just putting together Ginkelberg and Dinkelberg in the Dimmadome.
Hey,
I had him put that together.
Hey, you're getting there. Ginkelberg. Yeah, exactly. He's on my team. He had to be. And I'm enjoying having him, so I gotta fire him up every week. But
the name's good for a giggle. I mean, that is a locker room guy too. Like ginkling people, getting ginkled. That's all good talk. Kind of positive attitude you need. And he's almost done it for you already a couple times. So
yeah,
just need one more push. Maybe the Judester can do it for you.
Yeah, maybe Jerry Jeudy comes and does it. I ended up having to lean on Keon Coleman last week with bye weeks and whatnot, so it didn't end up working out for me, and I'm hoping Jeudy can provide a safer floor now that he's the wide receiver 1, even if it's a bad offense here. But Lehman ended up not needing the defender that he had. After he picked up Brian Branch from me, so he went and turned around and traded Anal Zone traded Anzalone over to Chris because he wanted him. He didn't even want to let him hit the waivers. He said, dude, send him to me so I can have Anal Zone on my team. And he does now. So, yeah, Khalil Shakir, after the Amari Cooper trade to the Bills, some uncertainty there as well. But Lehman making some moves and some defense, some defensive guys moving around. I like seeing those guys also being part of the trade talks and consideration. We talked about last week how they're not just something you ignore and tack on the end. That they deserve serious consideration, and you can see that they're being valued. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the difference between a good flex, an okay flex, or a bad flex every week. So it's it's like having an extra flex spot, but you just can't put one of your position players in there. You have to do some deep diving. There's different strategies. Brian Branch is like a huge upside guy. Obviously, if he gets 2 interceptions, that's huge. And I've gone the route of Spillane, where he's just gonna get 10 tackles a game, and I'm gonna be okay with that. I've been thinking about rethinking that, but I don't want to rewrite history just because I lost my first, I shed blood for the first time this year.
No one makes me bleed my own blood.
Yeah, I thought about that a lot this weekend. I'm like, it's like when the quarterback gets hit and the announcer's like, yeah, after taking a hit like that, your blood really starts pumping, you get into the game. So I think it would be good that he took a hit like that. It's like, yeah, maybe. Sure.
I kind of wish my moneymaker wasn't getting pounded out there, though.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is alive again after taking a hit.
Oh, my God.
I think it was Aaron Rodgers they were talking about. They're like, he hadn't played football for a year. It's good that he got in there, and, the hit brings you back to it. And I kind of get that. Like, I got hit in, like, the shoulder with a lacrosse ball, like, years after I stopped playing lacrosse, and I was like, ooh. Like, okay, like, I've reawoken something in me. Like, let's go. But, so yeah, I guess I get that a little bit. But also not a 350-pound man. Just a lacrosse ball.
A little different. Same, but different. Same,
but different.
Yeah, how many? I don't think we need any words. It's that movie in this one. Okay, let's move on here from the waiver wire and over to week 7 here. We're approaching the halfway point of the season and got a lot of games to talk about here. So let's get over to the projection preview and talk about next, or I guess this week.
Projection preview.
Am I going to be penalized?
Are you going to be penalized?
Yeah, I got finger guns.
Oh, yeah.
I got finger guns.
Yeah, flag that. Get that out of here.
Oh, an arrow?
Not allowed. No, none of that. No having fun. No celebrating at all. All right, let's talk about, you know what, Ricky, why don't you pick the matchup here? Who are we talking about first here for our projection preview for week 7?
Let's start off real hot, real close with the Stroud Boys, and I'm Ron Burgundy, because this is going to be it's 2 playoff contending teams that are coming into it and looking to solidify their spot here. Like I said, Eric has been doing well. His points for and points against seem to be tending on the easier side for his schedule and whatnot. He's been kind of getting by. Maybe it's Community Fairbairn. And Nate's looked solid, but he's had a downfall last week. Last week wasn't pretty, so we'll see if one of them either continues to prove that he deserves to be here, or if Nate can bounce back. I'm interested to see what goes on here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hopefully a higher performance out of Nate than last week. Like we mentioned, he's getting Kyron Williams back. He's also getting Jordan Addison, and he may not be playing the Minnesota defense versus Detroit, but at least Jordan Addison is coming back from there. So he's got kind of his full lineup. Not anyone super important on bye for him besides Jake Ferguson. He's got Jamar Chase on his bench right now. In favor of Pop Shota, in favor of Demario Douglas, who he's named Patrick Starr, and Devonta
That's
Smith and
crazy.
Jordan
He
Addison.
plays Cleveland, right?
Yeah, they're playing against Cleveland. I can't imagine benching Jamar Chase on any week for any reason, so this seems wild to me.
It's a divisional matchup. I think he just put up 12 points last week. Yeah, maybe Nate's looking at that and going, hey, I don't need 12 points out of you. He's like sitting James Conner after he fumbles. Like, hey, sit down, dude. I don't know. That's who's he flexing? Who's down there to flex? Jordan.
In that,
I mean, you know what? It could happen. On any given week, anyone can put up 20 points, and superstars can put up 13, and you go, well, whatever, it's 13 points. But
this would be
hey,
a
Pop
called
does.
shot. Yeah, if that would be quite a shot. If
Jacksonville in London is
we just saw the Bears do it, right? Like it could.
Bears did just do it.
The
The
rookie
rookies
quarterback
can do it.
Yeah.
So we'll see there. Any action tonight on either of these teams? Because I'm interested. I think this is the first rookie on rookie gameplay with Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler popping off together. Just
Paulson Adebo going, on the Saints defense, who I did pick up to start in this league and others. So I'm selfishly hoping that this is a great pick for Eric here. He's right now got the RB spot empty, which is why it's showing his projections as a little bit lower. But I'm sure if James Cook plays, he's going to put him in. But if not, he may end up needing to settle for Charbonnet or Warren, or perhaps be on the lookout for another option there. But obviously, he was just really
together for him for Ray Davis.
Oh yeah, just picking him up off the waivers and instantly trade him. I'm sure that's gonna go over smoothly here. But yeah, it's looking like 123 points projected for Nate, and he should be somewhat close to that. Again, both teams heading towards the playoffs, so it should be interesting to see how this one turns out. TJ Watt on Nate's team and the Pittsburgh defense for Eric. God, they got a lot going. Like, all their defense and special team stuff is all this Sunday night Pittsburgh Jets action here. So they're gonna be waiting until Sunday night to see all of their besides Paulson Adebo, all of their defensive core going.
And that area down there is really scary. A lot of, like, if you're looking at someone who won their week, typically the positions down here are green. They make a big difference. Defense putting up like 20 points on you is real tough. The kickers are obviously wild cards. And the IDPs, like I said, a good IDP goes a long, long way. So it's spooky down there. And it's kind of hard to read exactly how they'll do, right? It's not like Jamar Chase going into Sunday night. You're like, yeah, no, he's definitely good for 15. He could be 25. It's kind of like, I have no idea what the fuck's about to happen to me, but I'm sure I won't like it.
Yeah, I've seen TJ Watt put up 4 like this year, and then some weeks he comes and puts up 20. Yeah, it's a wild swing, and it's not really the other crazy thing about it is that it's not nearly as like celebrated on the broadcast. Like, you're looking for your guy to get a tackle. And, like, they barely mention who gets the tackle, and you're like, oh, what's that, my guy? What number is he? Like, you're looking at the screen, going crazy, looking for your defender, because they're never gonna mention it on the broadcast who it was.
Yeah, you get like a quick, and TJ Watt gets home, and you're like, if you're listening, you're like, yeah. And if you're not, you're like, oh, whatever, dude. Yeah, 3 and out, get him going.
Yep.
Yeah.
But this is I did want to note as well, he has that Evan Ingram in the morning game as well as Demario Douglas, but we have a doubleheader Monday night. There's the 8:15 Baltimore versus Tampa Bay game, but there's also a 9 o'clock Chargers versus Cardinals game that these guys are both going to be waiting on results for some of their best players here. So I hope for all of us this game's decided early and all the starters are sitting by the second half or something. I don't want to stay up till 1 a.m. to watch the Chargers and the Cardinals, man.
That's tough, dude. I'm definitely staying up to watch the Ravens at least. Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, those are some important games that we will be waiting on there. All right, let's go from Nate and Eric to right beneath them here, Bill Cosby's Sleepers versus the Toaster Baths. A hot win last week for Lehman and a loss coming from Artie here. So they're both, coming from different spots, but have the same goal here, and that's a win in week 7 to keep the momentum going for their team here. Josh Allen going against the Titans. We haven't really talked about that matchup a ton yet. The Titans have been a good defense this year, but the Bills are bringing in Amari Cooper. So we'll see if their offense is more efficient with a new target or if they still struggle against that stout defensive front from the Titans here. Either way, Josh Allen, he looked great last week, and I'm sure Lehman is hoping for more of that out of him.
Tennessee's defense is pretty good. Amari Cooper is an excellent player. He's an excellent route runner, but obviously he's going to need to learn the playbook. So week 1, it's probably going to be like go balls and easy slants and stuff like that, and not much else. I mean, what do you do? Do you just like, hey, guys, I'm calling the call, and then you look to Amari and you're just like, run a slant? Like, you whisper in your ear like, hey, it's a go ball for you. You imagine you have to bridge the gap. Someone with knowledge just has to be like, hey, I'm translating for you mid huddle, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so I'm not a huge expert in specifics about play calling, but I know that it's almost like a language. Like the quarterback just speaks a sentence, and it's like, this guy's going to do this guy's going to do this guy's going to do this. But yeah, so like the play call isn't necessarily, oh, you're going to run out 3 feet. It's the play call is you're going to do a slant. They might just call it something else. So yeah, they'll be like, this is a slant play, and he'll like go do a slant if he doesn't know. But it's not like he's missing a ton of extra information. He might miss where some like block assignments are going and things like that. So yeah, he probably won't be a huge part of the run game, but you wouldn't really expect him to be on his first week anyway there. But yeah, it shouldn't be, they might even have the same naming convention on a lot of their stuff, so it might be easy for him to pick up as well. They might have a couple things that can just call him in that he'll know and do, and it'll be good there. But interesting note about that game. Regardless, I'll be curious to see how much he's used there as well here. These guys are going to be we got Lad McConkey going in that 9:00 game, so that's going to be one they're waiting for there. And he's also got Bucky Irving going in that 8:15 game, so a lot of Monday night action for him. One of the things you and I discussed in the pre-recording analysis of these rosters is that Lehman's in kind of a bind. He's got to drop some people. Cole Kmet and the Bears defense, the whole Bears team actually, is on bye this week, so as well as CeeDee Lamb, so he's got issues with trying to fill these spots and hold on to all the guys on his bench here. Maybe it's time for Justice Hill to go. I know he just put DeAndre Hopkins on the trade block. I mean, these are names that are guys that are scoring points and everything, but at the end of the day, you need a kicker and you need a defense, or you're looking like this 99-point projection.
Right. No, I mean, something's got to give. Lehman's in a crunch, a week 7 bye week crunch for sure. He's got Jonathan Brooks in his IR. There's no real bailing him out in that way. So tough decisions have to be made. Lehman's got to make something happen. And that means he's got to cull the herd a little bit. And it's tough. I know more than anyone. I hate dropping guys. You just trade them instead. But yeah, he's got to get something done here. And on the other side, it looks like Artie's kind of at full strength. I didn't see anyone down there that really stuck out as a real ding to his week. His roster at least isn't bound up at any rate. Justin Fields is no longer the starter in Pittsburgh. That's crazy. We'll just gloss over that for now. Give Russ the start. He's going to hold on to him because I don't think Russ starts for long, and he wants that that rushing upside. And yeah, I mean, if he wanted to, he could run Vidal right into that 9 o'clock game and see how it goes for him.
Yeah, I don't think that's one of the top options here, but we'll see if he ends up
Andrews
going
riding
for
the
it.
pine this week.
Finally riding the pine after his best week so far, instead flexing Juju Smith-Schuster. I believe Artie has told me in the past, I don't 100% remember if this is correct, but I believe Artie is a Juju fan. No, I know for a fact. I think he has played video games with Juju Smith-Schuster or something. Like he's definitely a Juju guy, so I'm not surprised to see him on Artie's team and firing him up if he's getting any opportunity.
It's crazy how quickly someone like Juju can go from being like the talk of the league and dancing, doing TikTok dances in the end zones of team whatever to just he's so quiet. He's quiet as a mouse. You don't hear anything about him, right? It's like, oh, he might be the new KC guy, but there's no headlines. There's nothing. He's just quietly like, all right, I'm just gonna take a step back, and I'm sure he's still doing stuff on his socials, but I don't know. I haven't heard anything about him this year. And 2 years ago, he was the talk of the town.
Well, I think you gotta kind of back it up, and he's been hopping around from team to team and not nearly making as much money as he used to. So we'll see if he continues to be the guy there, or if he continues to decline like he has been here. He also has Travis Kelce going in that game, so if Juju isn't getting all the volume, he could potentially still be okay with it. Or vice versa. If Kelce isn't getting it, it might be going to Juju there. So a double investment into that tough matchup against the Niners Sunday afternoon. We'll see how that ends up working out for him. He's got Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown going. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, even Chuba Hubbard has been strong, like you were saying. Really just his
a lot
weak
of away
spot.
games.
Yeah, a lot of away games for him, and a lot of uncertainty at quarterback with Geno going back in here and Justin Fields not being a starter in the league this week. We'll see if he's able to power through that, and if Lehman's able to fix the holes in his roster here in time for those games. Let's move to your matchup versus Dylan here. There's been some talk of it already in the league chat as the days have gone here, and Dylan's not looking forward to his chances. He's kind of punted at running back at this point here, looking at the Ernest Johnson and Tyrone Tracy, hoping that Devin Singletary doesn't come back this week. He's wheeling out Alan Lazard and Romeo Doubs. These are both guys that could have been seen on your waivers this year as well. Dalton Kincaid has been decent for him in the last few weeks. We'll see if he's impacted by that Amari Cooper news that we talked about. And then Brandon Ayuk going for him in that Kansas City game. And Brandon Ayuk has not been consistent, but is trying to turn up the heat here. So
you never know with the San Fran guys. It could just be an Ayuk week and he'll put up 35 against me, or it could be a Debo week and Debo's putting up 35. It's rarely together, but there will be touchdowns to be had.
That is definitely true. I'm sure that game will have a lot going on. It's a double Super Bowl rematch. These guys have been always having a fierce rivalry for the last couple years, and it should be interesting to see that game. He doesn't have Marvin Harrison in his lineup yet. He's still recovering from that concussion, I believe. So we'll see if he ends up making his way in or if he's without him this week. I'm sure he'd probably put him in over Lazard or maybe over Doubs, but definitely over somebody.
I don't know if he'll make it back from concussion this week. I think that as the league has been more and more concussion aware the previous years, the timeline has gone from 5 days to 7 days to it's 10 now. And it wasn't a short week or anything for them. It's just Sunday to Sunday. So he'd have to be very mildly concussed to come back and play this week. But I imagine he'll miss 1 week with the concussion.
We shall see. But yeah, that is what he's wheeling out there. He did pick up Zaire Franklin for this week, so another potential waiver warrior candidate. Dylan seems to continue to be doing it this year.
Ernest Johnson, he's just trying to collect.
He's just trying to get all these $5 Dunkies cards. Yeah, he hasn't gotten. I don't think he said anything about it last week. So
no, he just keeps telling you to keep your money and put it towards the parlay.
We'll see. We'll see if we end up hitting one of those Bozo parlays at some point. But who better to talk about your team than you yourself here? What's going on for you this week? What are you thinking?
It's a Monday night. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and there's going to be a lot of my points just bottled up, waiting to go Monday night in that doubleheader. I don't think I have any Chargers or Cardinals anymore, so at least it's just going to be one game for me. I have Garrett Wilson in there. I really wish that was Amon-Ra right now. I fumbled my roster a bit. I need to wait for someone to go out, but that should be Amon-Ra St. Brown going with Deontay Johnson. I'm blanking on my own team. You got to scroll up for me. My second wide receiver is Malik Neighbors. That's right. Hopefully he's back from concussion protocol. He's already missed 2 games with it. That's why I feel Marvin might miss more, like at least 1, if not 2. So we'll see if Neighbors comes back. He was partying at a concert, so I'm hoping he can recover. Brock Bowers, solid. He's only behind Kittle this year for tight ends, and Kittle has just been catching touchdowns, and Brock Bowers hasn't. I think he has 1 on the season, and he fell on the 1-yard line last week. So, tough sledding for me, I guess. That's the median win. But yeah, I mean, it's the same old suspects over here. We rebranded to the perfect sell because I got all the guys I want. I don't feel compelled to make trades as I used to because I feel complete. And we'll see how that really turns out.
I mean, it's a strong lineup. You have 134 projected points to Dylan's 102, and neither of you are missing any players. So a 30-point difference in projections can definitely speak to the feeling of strength with looking at your lineup. But as we've come to become so familiar with the projections, we know that ultimately they mean very little. And we'll see if you end up hanging on to that projected victory here, or if the up-downs stay up, or if they go down. Let's talk about the Dogs coming off their 2-0 win versus the Manatees coming off a 2-0 win of themselves here. Corey's going to have to find someone else to put in for DeAndre Swift. And we'll see if he ends up putting Patrick Mahomes back in instead of Kirk Cousins versus the Seahawks. But he's got Najee Harris going in that Sunday night Pittsburgh game. And he's still got Rashid Shaheed in his lineup. But we know now that he's having surgery on his meniscus, I think, or something. He's having leg surgery today. And he's not going to be playing tonight or for the next few weeks. So Rashid Shaheed,
I was not privy to that. That's the first I'm hearing of that.
Yeah, he's having leg surgery.
Well, damn, that's tough. It's Bub Mean season.
Means it's time for Bub, we guess. It's time for Bub or something there. It's time for Spencer Rattler and the B team to get rolled out. We had that hot start, and now this. Interesting.
Maybe I will trade for Chris Olave. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean,
that's such a hard bed to get into right now.
Yeah, this week, no Olave this week, no Rashid Shaheed, no Derek Carr. It's all Kamara tonight, baby. That's what we're gonna see.
Kamara and Juwan.
Yeah, Patrick Surtain is gonna absolutely blanket whatever third string wide receiver that's out there. So it's gonna be just dump offs to Kamara all night. And we'll see if that does it for the Land Manatees here.
What if they just blanket Kamara instead? Pat Surtain's just like,
how do you do that?
You just do it.
No,
you just do it.
You just blanket, and you can't do that.
Yeah, hey, just do it. As soon as the ball gets snapped, you're like, I'm covering you. You run into the backfield and you start going like this, and
I
just think Put Pastor Dan on Kamara. Be like, that guy doesn't get to produce. Make it happen, Pat.
Well, the Commanders are playing against the Carolina Panthers this week, and Riley's still got two pieces of those guys. He's just swapping out between Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson. He is the Commanders. He's using their backfield in the same way they are, swapping them in and out and trying to just ride the hot hand when he can.
No Aubrey this week. I think this is
Uh-oh.
probably the week Riley's been looking forward to the least. The Dogs are a notoriously tough matchup. Corey would luck into an Aubrey-less Zins, and I'm sure whatever kicker Riley picks up is just going to pale in comparison and reinforces Brandon Aubrey love. But Corey's got work he's got to do on the other side. Cooper Kupp could come back. Maybe.
Could replace Rashid Shaheed possibly with Cooper Kupp this week if he's able to come
Jerome
back from
Ford's
injury.
Banged up. He's got to get a running back from somewhere.
Yeah, he definitely needs a running back. Micah Parsons is on bye and injured, so maybe that's someone he could consider dropping, or maybe even just swapping out Jerome Ford for someone. But yeah, he needs to find someone and find it soon here. And he definitely needs to pay attention to Rashid Shaheed tonight not being able to go. I'm not taking it out for you, Corey. If you go down like this, it's on you, brother. So hopefully you see that Rashid Shaheed is having leg surgery. But yeah, let's move on from that. I think we've hit just about everyone's, but a couple more here. We've got my matchup versus the AZ 69ers. I still got Drake May going over Caleb Williams or Anthony Richardson. They're going to the Jags in London, so I'm hoping he puts up big points there. Maybe I'm a little bit of a Patriots homer. But
you're like rookies in London. That can't work last week. And then this week you're like, well, it worked. So it's got to work twice.
Clearly it works. Yeah. So here we go. Well, also Drake May was just lit last week against the Texans. So I want to see more of what he can do, and I feel personally invested in it, and I want to root for him. So here we go. I'm putting him in. I've got nothing but letdown from my quarterback situation all year so far, and I at least had a glimmer of hope watching Drake May. So there he is.
Ooh, Barkley revenge game.
Saquon Barkley revenge game versus the Giants. That could be a big source of points for me there. I'm also Yeah. He's going back to New York. That should be, man. I know they're gonna be talking about that on the broadcast the whole time. He's gotta run hard when he's there. I'm excited to see that game. Also, I'm getting my Dolphins back here. Achane and Tyreek Hill. I don't think, Tua's not eligible to return this week, so we're still going to be working with Snoop Huntley. But maybe with the bye week and some extra practice against a soft defense, my guys can get it going again. I also have Brian Thomas going in that early morning game that I was talking about, Drizzy being in. So I'm gonna have
back week
for that. Yeah,
it's gotta be a bounce back week.
I gotta be doing it though. The projections say otherwise. I got Trey McBride, Tank Dell, Justin Tucker. I feel good about Ginkelberg. Ginkelberg returns is what I named him now because he's back off bye and in the lineup and ready to produce for me. But it's saying Alex is going to do a lot better. I think a big part of it is the Jaden Daniels projections being so much higher than Drake May's. But where else am I missing out on points across the board? It's Chris Godwin in the flex.
Yeah, he's not even projected for what he'll probably put up either.
Yeah, it's
Roquan Smith has been good. That Monday night game is going to be weighing on you all week, I'm sure. I know you don't like it. I know you said you're Garfield earlier because you hate Mondays. But Godwin, Roquan Smith, those guys are going to be standing between you and whatever fantasy finish you're going to have this week. The Baltimore Ravens have been very, very good for receivers to play against all season. So that's scary, but it could just be a Mike Evans night. It happens. Chris Godwin has been doing excellent out of the slot, but if a team can kind of come in and say, hey, like, if we see what you're doing with Godwin and we're going to shut it down, you're going to have to beat us with Mike Evans, and so be it, I guess. But I guess that's what you're hoping for there. And then Devontae Adams getting the nod because he's playing. We'll see if that's either lightning in a bottle or,
the healthiest
remnants
man
of the
alive.
past. Yeah. I don't know. J.K. Dobbins to Arizona seems pretty all right. This is gonna. I think both of you will be above the median. And I think it will come down to who can edge something out. I'd hate to see you go 1-1 this week, but I think you're both getting a median win looking at these lineups here.
I am certainly hoping. I feel like my team is at, if not full strength, pretty close to it. So they got to do it right now. A lot of my team's just coming off of buys. Easier matchups. Some's got to give, man. Come on. Got to give it to me here. So
Law of averages. Well, you and Alex have both been very unlucky all season. So I think this matchup in particular, like I said it last week, it's kind of a do or die kind of thing. But, for you two who have been so unlucky, like you can't both get unlucky here. Someone has to come away with a W.
Oh, boy. Knock on wood after that one.
No, like I said, you guys are going to hit the projections. I'm good for that, okay? You guys are going to be above the median. I don't see Jaden Daniels crumpling to the Panthers. I think Drake May can do it against Jacksonville. The Barkley revenge game is sick as hell. I'm pumped about that, so I think it'll be a slugfest. Best of luck to both teams, but I'm secretly a Hogs fan at heart.
We're gonna have Trey McBride and J.K. Dobbins going in that 9:00 Monday night game too. So I am prepared to be wrecked at work on Tuesday. We got one more matchup to go through. It's Women in the Kitchen featuring Slim Shady against Herbert and the Perverts featuring Justin Herbert himself. He's got that 9:00 game as well, but Chris is going to be watching Joe Burrow Sunday afternoon at 1:00 against Cleveland. It looks like Nate was nervous about that matchup, so Chris not so much here, still firing off Joe Burrow. We'll see if he ends up breaking off another 40-yard touchdown run or if maybe he suffers a little bit of the administrations of Myles Garrett. He's also got Josh Jacobs and Joe Mixon going again here, two high-volume backs that have been very dependable so far this season when they play and everything. Joe Mixon being in has definitely been a boon for Chris. He's also got BBL Drizzy going versus Seattle here. T. Higgins in that same game with Joe Burrow. And Scary Terry against Carolina in that matchup we just talked about. The Washington Commanders versus the Panthers there. So his team's also looking pretty full strength here too. Harrison Butker is back. He's still got the Cleveland defense going. Traded for Anal Zone. He's got them all. No one on bye. No one injured for him. This is what his team looks like at full power.
It's what the women in the kitchen have cooked up this year. Speaking of full power, it's Herbert the Perverts wheeling out Justin Herbert again. That captain is going down with the ship. Kenneth Walker again producing. I think Atlanta is an okay matchup against the run. I think they're probably middling. I don't think it's particularly good or bad. ETN could bounce back against New England, although I don't know how severe his injury is. Do you know anything about that?
Not much. It's a hamstring injury. We don't like that.
No, you don't like that.
So he's still got Roma Dunze out here. So he's going to need to swap someone out.
Jefferson. So
and I know he took out Sam Darnold, who was also on bye, to put Herbert in. So maybe he's not going down with the ship. Maybe Mike, per usual Mike fashion, is a little slow to the draw on adjusting his roster here, and maybe he ends up swapping even ETN out too. I don't know if he'd have any other options for that. I know we got Jefferson coming in, Darnold. No running backs for
Pollard.
him.
He has Pollard in the flex, so he could flex him up.
Okay, yeah, so then he flexes that and then, either brings in, geez, he's got a defensive back and a defensive end on his bench and Fred Warner, who I don't ever see you taking out of your starting lineup for any reason. Sitting there,
I love Fred Warner as a line. He's my favorite linebacker in the league. Just every time he's on the screen, you see him doing it.
He is sick. He's been putting up big points for Mike too. One of the few bright spots for him this season.
Yeah, if it's me, I'm getting Zerline the fuck out of there.
Yeah,
personally, but hey, that's me. But
sure
yeah, Xavier Worthy or even Kyle Pitts going into the flex instead of Pollard could be okay plays. So we'll see what he ends up doing. I think it will be closer in projections, obviously, than what's currently being shown. And the women in the kitchen will have to continue to earn their keep here because 2 explosive performances, but can it be 3? Is Burrow into Cleveland going to be good? I mean, they're probably going to have to outscore like 10 points. So, the pressure isn't really on.
Yeah, it's unless Cleveland comes out and shocks the world, this should be a win for the Bungles here, but these divisional matchups get crazy, so anything is possible. But
it's the Jerry Jeudy lights out superstar show.
He becomes the one and finally becomes the receiver that everyone thought he would be when they drafted him from Alabama. But that's it for our matchups. We got a lot of pretty close ones here, at least projected wise. And I know that it's going to come down to the wire, as it always does, especially with 2 games on Monday night. That's always rough to deal with. like you were saying, I hate the Mondays. I hate the Monday games. It always comes down to the end of it, and then most of the time I'm sad. So that's not good. But I'm also pleased to see we've been joined by your cat. Do you or your cat have any words for us for the end of the episode here today?
Oh, it's all ghost sorcerers, all that stuff. Yeah, this is Jax. That's the Grandmaster at Arms right there. But I think Monday nights are exciting, even if they've been giving you heartbreak. It's exciting to watch and see. And as soon as you come out on the right side of it, I think you might change your tune a bit. I'm kind of looking forward to the doubleheader and a big Ravens performance to seal a deal for me or break me. So yeah, go Sorcerers and have fun, everyone.
All right. Well, yeah, have fun, everyone. Thanks so much for listening again this week. We always love having you. And hopefully this is another high-scoring week for everyone. No more heartbreak, just live action. Let's get it done, boys. Thanks again. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the DFL Breakdown. Tune in next week for more.